Hello. Well, tonight. What? What? We're talking. Um, we'll wait until a couple people pop in the Zoom meet, and then figure where you're watching it from. I am a media small club South America. Down here, very good life. Actually, we got a hair system. Well, as my name is Jake. Nice. And during that work for LaVivid, we do partner to learn more and just continue the great education. That way, you are capable. I started with narcissism. I was going to do something with it. What I mean by that is, I felt inside of myself that I knew I had to share with other people. That it has guided. I've been making content on it for 6 years. For a long time, I was uploading. And not that it's many people, sense thousands and thousands. You can feel it coming. Yeah, these a lot of people's lives are changing. And hopefully, would love to know what is not good. With that, I would love to know where you're from, since I do. But either way, we'll get going with it. So, what's going on? Well, got a lot of discounts. You know, over that, we'll walk through like our best-selling hair colors. Walk through those low density, all of that kind of fun stuff. So, if you have any questions, specifically your sisters, you have questions about you let me help you out. This is your free virtual consult. But for now, I suppose that's we can going. So one of the uh, first, if you want to buy yours, you're going to get 70% of the price, which is really nice. On top of that, so you know, however, anybody that orders while we're on, will actually get you that's cool. This sale, keep in mind, it is August 20th. So, 5%. Oh, make sure that kind of stuff to get into it. As we're going through, let me know what kind of questions you have about specific units. If there's kind of life that, well, the first thing we'll do is we'll actually kind of explain units that we have here. And it's a different you can actually be on my computer. Second. So the first probably we have upgrade. So this right here, really and also why do I say that? So number there instead of the base section, like, that creates more for you if you look. So all of the bases can be cut if they're a little bit too big for you, all that kind of stuff. Um, Please let me know if my audio is better now. That might fix some of this stuff. Sorry about that. So this unit is a really, really great unit. If you are going to be, I really love these units that are full poly. If they are units that you are just getting used to hair systems, because poly is so much easier to clean and to take care of on a regular basis as opposed to lace. I kind of recommend lace as something that you use when you get used to hair systems. It's just like riding a tricycle and then riding a bike, if that makes sense. Looks like the audio is fixed. So good stuff. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. So, anyways, back to the Mirage. The reason that this is also going to last a little bit longer is the base design right here, which is a 0.04, 0.06 super thin skin. What that means is, so every base that's a poly, that's a plastic, that's a thin skin. Those are all words that relate to the same type of hair system. If you see other companies and they talk about Magic Poly, Wonder Poly, PU, any of these types of phrases, thin skin, magic skin, no C skin, these are all poly units like this right here. This unit is 0.02 to 0.06, which is how thick it is. Now, thickness relates to two things. It relates to believability and durability. Obviously, the thinner it is, the more believable it's going to be. It's less
less perceptible. However, if you have something that is thinner, right, it's going to be a little bit less durable, a little less structural integrity. So this 0.06 or 0.04 is 0.06 that we've got going on here is a good mix between those things. And you're going to have the base size be a 8 by 10. Just for people who have never gone through this process, what that means is it is going to be 8 inches across, 10 inches long. So what you do is you want to measure your balding area, your max balding area. So if your hairline is here and you want it here, you measure to where you're balding in the back. That's your length. And then your width is going to be where you're balding from here to where you're balding from here. You want to pick the maximum areas to measure. So it's got that. We've got 6 inches of hair on that. So for most of us, this is going to be more than long. And then this right here, the body wave, what that refers to is the curl or the wave or how straight hair is. These are basically curled, or you could say like permed. Um, this will give your hair basically a different texture, all the way down to even afro. If you're interested in that type of stuff, if you have more of a really tight curl, but we give this a 20 millimeter rod size. When it gets actually more relaxed, it's going to look something like this right here. So there is some wave to it. It's not perfectly pinned straight, but it's nice. Now, we do kind of suggest that you plan on potentially, 4 units a year. So maybe every 3 months. So is it going to last forever? No, but this is a really great unit that's going to look good. So if you want to bias a little bit more towards looking good, this might be the unit for you. Um, as we're going through, guys, let me know if you have any questions. This is a good time to just ask anything that you got, anything that you need help with, anything that is holding you back from buying an air system. We'll see if we can answer the questions for you. The next unit that is most popular with people is the unit, the Helios. And if you're actually using a Helios right now in the chat, let me know. Um, I've got a Helios that I use. This is actually a Zeo Helios, and I'll tell you about the Zeo technology, but this is a great unit. The Helios is super duper duper solid. So we have the Helios, which is this unit right here. See, looks exactly the same like what I showed you. Now, this, you'll notice that the base looks completely different than the unit we just talked about. So this is what a lace looks like. And then this is what a poly looks like, if you can see. So the advantages to wearing lace, if you don't know, is that it is far more breathable. Well, poly is not breathable whatsoever. You really are not going to get much heat out of the hair system, and also potentially sweat. It's going to be harder for it to escape. So the poly can be less than ideal if you live in a hot area or you do a lot of exercise, like me. But they're easier to manage. So that's the trade off that you're going to get. Um, so light is a little extreme here. So the beautiful thing about the Helios, right, is this is not just what is called a lace, but this is a full Swiss lace base. So let's describe it a little bit. What's the difference between a Swiss lace and then a French lace? Well, a French lace is going to use a thicker material. So the actual lacing, this is kind of like what it looks like if you look at it very, very close. The lacing is a thicker material, so it's a little bit more noticeable than a Swiss lace. A French lace is also more durable than a Swiss lace because it's thicker, it's more durable. The Swiss lace is going to be probably the best hairline that you're going to get. It is designed for maximum believability and even potentially exposed hairlines if you want to play around with that kind of stuff. The other good thing about the Helios is that it has bleach knots on the front. A bleach knot, if you don't know what it is, a bleach knot is where we actually bleach the hair color at the knot so that way it actually looks more like the scalp. This will remove any type of dotting look that you might have seen before on somebody's scalp. It's not a super noticeable thing, but for those of you that really want to have that maximum level of believability, it is a big deal. So, this is an absolutely bang up unit right here. We'll get into the densities as well now. So the Mirage was, I believe, 95%. This is a 90% density unit. What do they look like? Well, this is a 90% density unit. So if you're thinking, man, I really need thinner hair than that, wait a little bit longer in the video. I've got some hair systems for you. Usually we don't see people that need to go much heavier than this right here, but we do have systems that are heavier as well, which we'll talk about. So this unit, you can see the wave is actually a little bit looser. The rod size is bigger, which means that the wave of the hair is going to be a little bit looser than the Mirage. And the plan for this right here is about 2 to 3 pieces per year. So as you can see, the difference between this and the Mirage, you could say if you're on a budget, is significant, right? You buy 2 to 3 of these versus 4 to 6 on the other. So if you're using this, you're planning on potentially using a system for maybe 6 months, maybe 4 months, and switching out with the Mirage, probably more like 2 to 3. Personally, I switch a lot of my units out at 3 months just to get something fresh. But you know, up to your own discretion and what you feel like is best for you, best for your hair, and best for your budget. The next unit that I'm actually going to show you is the unit I have worn the most in my hair system career. I have legitimately worn this probably a total like hair wear time of probably over 3 years, maybe 4. I used this system so much for so long, and that is the Eros. So we had an upgrade to the Eros. Oh, excuse me. We had an upgrade to the Eros, which is really nice. This has always been a really solid unit. Why? Well, one thing I love about it is this is the 0.02, 0.03 millimeter thickness. What that ultimately means is that this is the thinnest that polyurethane thin skins go right now. Now, that means that it's going to be the most believable thin skin unit, and it is super duper light. You don't even feel that you're wearing it. It can blend in the skin very easily. So the other great thing about this is that there's actually basically unlimited colors. We have 69 colors in this unit right here. Suffice to say, people buy a lot of these units, and also on the website, you could say that it is one of the cheaper, more affordable units that we do have out there. So it's definitely worth looking at, especially if you're going to get started. The other thing that I really like about the Eros is that it is poly, just like the other ones. Because when you do get started, like your good starter unit, you don't want something that's going to be hard to manage. Not that lace is hard, but it just adds a couple extra steps. So if you want that maximum believability, if you want that Swiss lace, it's totally worth it. But if you're somebody that's like, I want to make it easy because I know I need it to be easy for me to do it, start with probably a skin. At least that's my recommendation for most of the people that we work with. Now, as we look, right, you'll see that the density of it is a 90%. So it's going to look probably a little bit similar to this in terms of density. And we have a 28 millimeter rod size right there, which is cool. There's no knots all over the base, which is great. So you're not going to have that look. It looks very good on the scalp. And this right here, we recommend 6 to 8 units per year. So, it's getting down a little bit lower. However, I want to actually speak from personal experience with this unit right here. I have never gone less than 3 months with an Eros. So the recommendation is to change it out less or more often, but I actually have not needed to. And if you've got questions about that kind of stuff, I can totally answer it for you. But I just want to give you my experience with that one specifically, because I do have a lot of love for it, and I've spent a lot of time with my good old Eros. So let me know, guys, if you have any questions in the comments. Um, if there is systems that you're considering, if there's systems based off of your life that you don't know might be good or bad for you, please let me know. Because the next one we're going to be talking about is another type of mirage that we have. We have two types. So the next type of mirage is actually the single knotted mirage. Single knotted mirage versus a upgrade mirage. What's the difference? Well, if you remember, on the upgrade mirage, it is V looped, meaning that the hair gets put in and then the other side of it goes back out. So there's no injection, there's no knots, there's no base of the hair. So the single knotted mirage is a little bit different because it does have these. If you take a look at it, right, you can see that there's like tiny little dots. Um, and those are kind of where the injection is. So these are great because they last a little bit longer and it's more durable. The base is 6.06 to 0.08 at its for its thickness. Excuse me, and that means ultimately that it's going to last a longer time. So as we go into our yearly plan here, so that way you can budget. Right, we talk about 3 to 4 of these pieces a year, whereas with the other Mirage, you're probably looking more like 4 to 6. So this could considerably save you some money. Um, the other advantage is that it's considerably more durable than the V loop system. V loops, just by the nature of what they are, it's not a design error, but they're just not as durable, right? Like hair can come out because it's not actually looped, it's not injected or anything. Whereas this right here is. So um, it's going to be a little bit thicker density, a little bit easier to work with. You can see the density here is at 105%. So keep that in mind. If you're somebody that is a little bit, older, if you're somebody that wants a little bit more of a mature look, you might potentially want to think about wearing something that's a little bit lighter in density. So these are great units, though. Great, great units. And another beautiful thing about it is like we have so many stinking colors for you in this right here, and yeah, that allows you to really get a lot of bang for your buck. Some of these units, unfortunately, we have to actually have custom color because we just don't have all the colors in stock. But like with the Mirage, with the Eros, man, there's a bajillion colors, so it's really, really good. Let's talk about the other unit that is our best seller. So this is the last one that we'll talk about before moving on. If you do have questions, guys, put them in the chat if you do want to know something in specific. And remember, if you order a hair system while you're on this call, you'll get a free LaVivid 6th anniversary towel, which is pretty cool, included with every order. And you also get the 20% off one system. If you order 2 systems, you get 25% off. So really good deal. So what is the last system that we're going to talk about? Well, the last one is this guy right here. This is the Tyler. Now, the Tyler is a unique system because it has a base type that we actually haven't talked about yet. We actually haven't talked about this type of unit. So we talked about polyurethane, and then we, of course, talked about lace, right? Well, this one right here is actually silk based. It has a combination, it's hybrid. which we'll talk about. But the majority of this system is silk, and we'll talk about what that's good for. So the actual construction of it, it looks a little bit different, a little bit more complicated than the others. So this right here around the back is going to be lace. So it has a strip of lace. The front is going to be, sorry, this is poly. This is lace right here. And then the rest of it is silk. And you can see these other pictures, all silk base, lace at the front, poly all the way around the back. So what is this unit good for? Why would someone buy this unit right here? Well, the first thing about this is this theoretically could be worn up to a year. So it lasts a little bit longer. So if you are somebody that's on a budget, man, that could be, something that is really, really good for you. Um, so that way we can reduce the cost for you. But on top of that, what else is a silk good for? Well, silk is really, really good, probably the best for a super natural scalp look. So if you look at this right here, holy smokes. Like there is no way you can possibly tell. Are you kidding me? That is incredible. So if you're someone that's concerned about like how the scalp looks and you want it to be the absolute stinking best, 100%. This might be the unit for you. And on top of that, it's going to last a long time. The density of this unit, just to show you, is 100%. So this is a little bit thicker than the other units that we were showing you, like the Mirage and the Eros and the Helios, a little bit thicker. Um, but it is definitely going to last longer. The other thing about this is it does have bleach knots at the front. So you'll get the best hairline that you possibly can while also getting a ton of longevity out of this. So that's super cool, right? Super, super cool. Guys, I'm going to take a minute here to pause. Good time for questions. Good time for anything that you're wondering, from like how do you live with the air system, how do you date with the air system, to specific things about how you change your air system. Questions about systems. It's a good time because I'm going to take a moment to drink. My voice is getting a little hoarse. I need to drink a lot of water. I'm always drinking. Okay. So, all of these units that we're going to be talking about, um, if you see something that you like, I highly encourage you to get it while it's in stock, because things like fly off the shelf like hotcakes here. They leave very, very quickly. And these next systems that we're going to talk about are types of systems that are newer, and I'll explain why it's newer, but they are systems that are really, really amazing, and I'll tell you about my experience with them as well. So these are actually our new antimicrobial hair systems. Um, the ZeoGuard technology, if you've been on our website, refers to a technology that was created that allows basically us to be antimicrobial. And it's used through basically silver particles that are coated on the hair system base. Um, what this does is it basically makes it very, very hard, basically impossible for these units to grow bacteria. Where would it grow bacteria from? Well, it would grow bacteria from essentially, when it's on your scalp and you're wearing it and you're sweating with glue or tape, right? That sweat, that bacteria that's in your sweat naturally could 100% kind of get trapped there and, fester a little bit, which is another reason why we always recommend that you're changing your hair systems. Basically like you're cleaning it every 7 to 14 days max, is because it's just good hygiene. So, with all of that being said, we created these ZeoGuard units to make it easier for you to have really, really good hygiene. And on top of that, the other thing is that it will reduce like smell, any smell. If you actually go back and look at some of my earliest videos, you know what? We're gonna go on like a little journey here to my YouTube channel and the early days because I want you guys to see that I had these problems and that they're totally solvable. So, if you actually take a look at this video right here, I called it um, hair system odor solved with this one trick. That's what I looked like back then. I think I've gotten better looking, guys. I think I've gotten better looking. But I was having some serious problems with this back in the day. And it's actually one of the reasons why I stopped wearing a hair system. I stopped wearing a hair system for probably like a month and a half, 2 months. And then I went back to it because I was working out every single day doing CrossFit. I was living in Florida. It was super hot, all that kind of stuff. And I was coming into issues with the smell. Um, if it was 6 years later and we had this technology, I never would have to deal with that. I never would have, ripped the hair system off and shaved my head. So now you guys don't have to deal with that because of this stuff right here. I was trying to figure out every possible way to eliminate smell, and now you don't have to. It's really good. It's really, really good. So, we have a lot of units inside of this, right? We actually have the Zero Mirage. So we talked about the Mirage a little bit earlier. So this unit right here is got all the antimicrobial technology in it and stuff like that, which all of our Zeomic technology stuff, you don't have to worry about like the antimicrobial technology being worn off, it actually, fading or anything like that. Um, all of that stays on the system. So really good, stable, all that kind of stuff. Um, this right here, once again, is V looped, 95% density, right? So you're getting that 0.04, 0.06 base here. So just like the Mirage that we talked about. But wait, there's more. So we basically created a Zeo version of a lot of our favorite or most best-selling units. So that way people would have options to go with this antimicrobial technology as we're upgrading it. So we made a Zeo single knot Mirage, right? So this one is with the actual knots as opposed to the other one, which doesn't. So once again, it's 0.6 to 0.8. So it is a little bit thicker, which is going to make the durability better, less shedding. Um, and it is a little bit thicker when it comes to the density at 105. So the base is thicker, the density is thicker, all of these things. So it's going to last a little bit longer. So you'll see 3 to 4 months as opposed to the other one, which is a little bit more units per year, probably looking at 4 to 6. Next is a unit that we actually haven't talked about the regular version yet, which is the Zeo Aries. So this is a really cool unit. It's another hybrid unit, which let's see if I can find a good picture. This one right here is a good picture. So you can see that this right here is a mixture of both lace and of poly. Right, here's the poly, here's the lace. So the front hairline is all lace, and then through the center is all lace, and then out the back is just poly, which is really good. Why? What does this allow you to do? Well, this allows you to make it a little bit easier to clean your unit because there's less lace. So that's a really good thing. Next, if you're not careful with lace, with some glue or adhesive, you can pull out some of the hair when you are reinstalling. You don't have to pull out the hair. And if you know how to do it, you're not going to. But once again, if it's something that you're newer to, that's something that you do have to contend with. So keep that in mind. That's why this is good. It's less of that area, but you still get the benefits of having a good hairline from the lace. Quickly, I just popped over into the chat and I just saw it. What's the number one tip for first time hair system users. It's the number one tip. Okay, I'm going to give you two. So the first one, I'm a big into like mindset and psychology and all that kind of stuff. So this first one's going to be in that vein. The first one is that you need to give yourself some grace as you're making a transition like this. Transitioning from a not having hair to having a full head of hair can be really really shocking. One, like actually learning how to use a hair system could be like, oh my god, wow, this is brand new and weird, and what am I doing? um, then there's also like the social shock of like, man, are people looking at my hair? Like, what are they thinking? Do they know? All that kind of stuff. And you have to give yourself grace with that. Like, that's only going to go away with exposure and time. And you need to give yourself grace that you might not be perfect at it when you first start, like the installing and the cleaning and all that kind of stuff. I always tell people, think of your first hair system as like your first tricycle or, your first car. You don't usually, most people don't go out and buy like their best car, as their first bike. They'll usually get, a car that is good, but the reason for it, regardless of whether it's the best or not, is because they expect that not it's okay if something happens to it, like if you don't treat it well. It's okay. It's a little bit more okay to lose $3,000 than say like $20,000, or when now cars are $50,000 or $100,000. So have some grace with you and realize like you might be a little bit harder on it. It might not last as long as you want, but that can change as you learn how to use systems. Um, Jerome, we'll get to that in a second. Just know that I saw it. The second tip that I'm going to give you when it comes to first time hair system users is to, I want to make this one more practical. Okay, yeah. So I would recommend that you, as soon as possible, learn how to do everything yourself, right? From like taking it off, installing it, reinstalling it, working with glue, working with tape. I think it's really, really important for you to do this process because it's ultimately going to give you a feeling of like agency. It's going to give you a feeling of being able to go anywhere that you want. It's going to give you a feeling of really, man, I can live my life with this. If you're trapped by a hair system clinic, like they do everything for you, and you're worried that like you're not going to get there, for your appointment, and you lose it and you can't get one for a week and you're freaking out, or you're going to go on vacation and you don't have any support there. That kind of stuff can like really make hair systems not fun, and they don't need to be like that. I've traveled the world now. I've been outside of the U.S. for close to 3 years, I think. I don't even know, and I've been traveling the whole time, and just living life. But that's because I know how to do everything. So I really recommend that you know how to do that as soon as possible. Thanks for that question. It's really good. And then Jerome, I'm going to come to you now. So as you have probably seen, we put up a couple of the low density options that we have right now. So if you familiar with them, I'm going to actually walk through them. I can walk through them in just a second. So you can actually see. Let me pull it up. 1 second. By the way, good time for other questions, guys, because my internet is being slow. My phone is taking up all the internet. So, on the light density units, those are not currently on sale. Those are brand new stock. It's like the only thing that's not in sale. So as far as those, we do have like $30 off of that. So if you order it, you know, you do have that, but you're not going to have the full 20% off or 25% off. Let me show you a few more of the Zeo units though, and then we'll get into the light systems because I want to walk through them all so that way you know what we have, and then I'll go through all the light systems. One second. So we have two more, right? We'll go through the Zeo Helios. You guys already know. We already walked through what the Helios is, so we're not going to do that one. The Zeo Cruis, Cruis, we haven't talked about, so I'm going to show you what it looks like, what it's good for, all that kind of stuff. All righty. So right here, this is the basic layout of the Cruis right here. So you'll see that there is lace in the center, and that there is polyurethane on the outside. Okay. So, what is this good for? Well, once again, you have a situation that allows you to get the benefits of a lace with all of the benefits of a poly, being that it's easier to take on and off, it's easier to clean, all that kind of stuff, while at the same time you get the breathability. So, this is a really great unit if you want those options that we just listed. Now, the Zeo Cruis is 115% density. So it is going to be a little bit thicker. Now, what can that mean? Well, number one, if you're somebody that wants it to last a little bit longer, this could actually be a benefit for you because it's going to last a little bit longer. It just has more density and more hair to like lose, if that makes sense. The rod length, so remember, rod means how curly it is a little bit looser than some of our other units. So, you know, it's going to be close to this type of hair, but also maybe a little bit, probably a little bit looser. By the way, guys, didn't take a shower today, so apologize for the wacky hair. But the beautiful thing about this unit is that it is zeomic, and you do get the benefits of both. You get the benefits of both with even more than what like the Atlas was, which is just it has you in the poly in the back. It has the poly all the way around. And usually the way that people tape their hair systems is around the edges, right? Sometimes we put a little bit in the center just to give it a little extra support, but you're always doing it all the way around the outside. So for this unit right here, that basically means you don't need to use anything. You don't need to use any tape or liquid, any of that stuff, glue on the lace, which makes it so much easier to clean. Trust me on that. How can we reduce hair fall? And I'm getting my first system. Which one do you suggest I start with from LaVivid? Guess 510 on hair fall. I'll answer that in a second. Joe, what I'd like for you to do is I'd actually love for you to tell me a little bit about who you are, your age, obviously like how thick your hair is, or you know you don't have any hair at all. Tell me a little bit about your lifestyle. Just write me a little quick paragraph, and then based off of that, I'll give you a recommendation. Okay. Okay, cool. So that's it for the Zeo technology, guys. And remember, all of those, you're going to be able to get that 20 or 25% off if you buy two. But I do want to show you the new systems that we just launched. Okay. If guys, just so you know as well, while you're ordering on this, every single one of you gets a free LaVivid 6th anniversary towel. Every single order. If you don't, you only get it if you're one of the 6 orders in the day. So if you're interested in that, really really cool, and I recommend that you do it. So check this out. These are our new models that are light density. So we have the Aries, the Cruis, the Simois, and the Mars. So what we'll do is we'll open up the Simois and the Mars because we haven't talked about these. But just so you can see, on the Aries, all of these units are down at a lower density. So this Aries, for example, you're going to see it at what density is it? Sorry, this is actually the upgrade Aries. So this is a brand new Aries with actually, oh my gosh, this is the Aries, but we actually added polyurethane at the front. That's amazing. So instead of just at the back, now it's at the front. Holy smokes. Okay, that's great. And this is a 95% density. So this isn't actually the super light density. These are the light ones. We have the light Samois, and then we have the light Cruis right here. Okay. So we'll talk about the light Samoas first. So this unit right here, really cool design. So once again, guys, right, like most of the time when you tape a unit, it is going to be in the front all the way around on the outside. So what this is, you have basically a poly strip all the way around the back, and then you actually can have a poly strip through the center. This will actually give you that more support that I was talking about, but you still have the front hairline that is really, really nice. So that way you have the most believable look and you still get all of the ease of the poly. So this is really, really cool if you want that extra stability and you also want, a really good front hairline. So we have 80% density at the front, and then as it goes back, the next 0.75 gradually increasing to 85% density. So what this means is like the reason we're doing these graduated density on units, what that means is like it's 85% and it slowly makes its way back to 85%. Is that it will actually give you a little bit more longevity out of the system, a little bit more thickness, but also give you that more believable um, just a more believable look overall. So really, really great unit. If you guys are interested in trying one of these lights, I really, really highly recommend that you try a light unit. Even if you're not wearing a light unit yet, to go into a light unit, you're like, oh man, this is realism. I actually have this unit right here that is a light unit, and I was wearing it, and you can see how much see through it is. And while this is, not on, um, it looks like it's a lot. It definitely looks like it's a lot. However, when you put it on, it looks way, 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 way better than it does right here. Like you're like, oh man, that's like no hair at all. But this is actually like how we look, most of us, and what our hair should seem like. So, you know, that's something that I highly recommend that you consider. Tomorrow, I'm going to be actually reinstalling that unit. Um, and yeah, I'll be out of this. This is 90%. I'll be down to like my 80% unit. So good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, let's go back into the computer. So we talked about the Samoas, right? We talked about this bad boy right here. Next, we have the light Cruis, which we've already talked about, so I'm not going to spend much time here. But this is going to have the reduced density as well. So once again, we're at 80% going down to, or going up to 85%, excuse me. But you get the advantage of having that ring all the way around with polyurethane. So this is really meant for people that want to have that lighter front density and graduate to a um, a little bit more thicker. So we personally recommendation that this probably is not going to be what you want to use for slick back, brush back hairstyles. You really want to go with something like the Eros if you're going to do that, or lace front systems. Those are generally advisable, the ones that we want you to buy if you're going to get a slick back hairstyle. Lace is really good for that. Lace is really, really good for that. And then the last system we're going to talk about tonight is actually the Mars. So what this is a full Swiss lace unit right here, but it actually has a graduated hairline. So it's 85% graduated density. So this is going to give you that better hairline, which I mean that looks pretty dang good if you ask me. Um, these are the hairlines from the actual unit, and you can see, right, like this is what most people's looks like. This is what ours look like. You know, much much better. So these units are really worth to try. Really, really worth to try. Um, It is very similar to like a Helios, but just thinner. And obviously, you have the graduated hairline. The advantage of these units as well is that they last a long time, right? So we recommend like 2 to 3 of them a year, which really, really good for budgets. So, whew, guys, lots and lots of hair systems that we have talked about today. These light density units, before we wrap up on that, they are really something that you got to try. You got to try them because I think that they'll give you like a newfound sense of holy smokes, this looks good. It'll just really kind of knock your socks off in ways that maybe you haven't seen before. So, with that being said, I say let's kind of wrap it up a little bit. There's a question right here inside of the chat, which is, I'm getting my first hair system. Which one do you think I should start from? So, without any suggestion from you, or I should say, without any input from you, like I asked for, of your lifestyle, where you live, your just what you do, your age, all that kind of stuff, I recommend that you actually go with an Eros to start. The Eros is what I recommend for 90% of people to start when I do consultations, which if you want to do a consultation, you can book with me right on the website. It's $20, but we also give you that $20 back if you buy a system. I recommend the Eros because it is a really good density. It's that 90% density. So it's not super duper 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 thick. I also really like the Eros because it is really good looking. It's a 0.02 thickness, so it is not super duper thin for you. Or sorry, it is super duper thin for you, and it's not going to be super apparent. It's good for slick back hairstyles, which we talked about. And on top of that, the maintenance is just so much easier. It's so easy to use it, and I want you to have a feeling of ease when you first get in a hair system. So that's what I recommend. Oh, and there's also a million colors. Like, it's very easy to get whatever color that you want. So highly, highly recommend that you try out the Eros, unless you give me a little bit more, suggestions. So, guys, we got about 10 minutes left. Um, you know, we'd love for you to take advantage of the sale. Obviously, get a little bit more money, bang for your buck. 20% off most of our systems, 25% off if you buy two. So those are really, really good deals that you should take advantage of. And, our low density systems, we don't have a ton of stock of that. So if you do want to try it, now is the time for you to do that. Really recommend that you do. And why not? You only live once. You know what I mean? So if you do order on this live stream, and probably in the minutes right after, we'll give you that free custom towel. We're also giving out 6 at the beginning of the day each day, so that's your chance if you do want that. But remember, guys, the sale is only till August 20th. And once it is gone, it is gone for good. Not coming back. So the thing I'll end with, unless there's some questions here in these next couple minutes, is how hair systems really impacted my life personally. As somebody that lost his hair basically when he was like 21, 22, very, very young, the worst nightmare for almost all of us. Raise your hand if you know what I mean. uh, I spent most of my 20s really living life smaller and becoming more and more introverted, not trying for opportunities and things as much. And I know it sounds silly to say, but has there ever been a time that you feel like that, where you are playing smaller than you want, that you are not living the life of your dreams, and that it feels like something's getting in the way? If that's true, I also felt that. And the only thing that changed my life actually was a hair system. I always joke about it. Could be random, but I made more money than I ever made after I got a hair system. I, uh, I was in a long-term relationship for the first time in a very long time, the longest relationship I ever had after I got a hair system. I've also gone on more dates and had the pleasure of knowing many, many incredible women after getting an air system. My social life, much better. I moved across the world to experience new things, travel the world after I got an air system. You know, my life dramatically improved when I made that choice because I made it for me. And behind everything, you know, you have to make sure, no matter what, that you feel good inside of your skin, that you feel good, how you look, how you're showing up, how you're living your life. So, you know, I highly encourage you, if you're feeling the call to explore it a little bit further, I highly encourage you, if you're, you know, needing guidance, to book a consult with me. Um, it's $20 and you'll get the $20 back, you know, right after, when you order. Um, if you're curious about any of this stuff, you know, don't let the "I'll try it someday" stop you from trying it, because it will. It will stop you and you will not actually get it done. Most of us say we'll do things tomorrow, and tomorrow never comes. So make the decision now if you haven't already. With that being said, guys, if there's no questions, I will wrap up this live stream. Remember to buy a system, right? You get 25% off. You get two, 20% off. You get one. You get the free towel if you order on the live stream. And we will see you in the next one. Take care.